Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today I'm really excited to talk about 33's Dark Seer. So he's basically played 5 games on the hero very recently. I was looking through his page because I've personally watched the most 33 out of everyone. He's my favorite player and I'm very much trying to emulate his gameplay, my gameplay. But either way, he's played 5 Dark Seer games and has won all of them, picking up Greaves in every single one of the 5 games, quite a lot of pipes, some Crimson Guard, and a few Ags. So basically, flash farming up the wazoo. Look at his items, guys. And these are not very long games. 31, 26, 36, even 44 and 47. I mean, those are long games, but they're not. But he's very farmed in all of them. Very farmed. And yeah, I watched him play a couple of the games. I've watched 3 of them already, so we're going to talk about the most recent one. And yeah, just basically go over why this hero looks good. I definitely think Dark Seer is a very legit pick if you understand how to flash farm. This is a hero that requires quite a lot of space. It's a hero that needs to take the space given to it, and a lot of people will get this wrong. The main advantage of Dark Seer as a hero is its ability to farm. You heard me correctly, its ability to farm. You are not Primal Beast who can just insta-kill anyone, right? That's not what you do. You're not a fighting hero, you're a farming hero in the early game, 9 times out of 10. And 33 is really gonna show that to us here today, so let's get into it. Also, I want to tell you guys that if you've been struggling with solo queue and you're looking to get to the next rank, I'm going to be able to help you. Like, literally, with the Game Leap website, I'm going to give you guys guides that are going to make it unbelievably clear on what you need to do. So if you've been stuck in the solo queue grind, you don't know what to do, and you want to become absolutely broken, but like actually you want to become much better at Dota, and you want to take it more seriously, the Game Leap website is going to help you do that. So click the link down below. I'm going to help you get to the next rank, and I'll see you there. Starting item build, a little bit weird. Some Coiling Blade, 3 branches, Circlet, and 3 mangoes. He's really been on the mango trend. I've been hyping it up to you guys. So someone left a really funny comment. I thought it was hilarious. I was laughing. I replied to it. I said, lol. But he said, wow, it's a new record. Something along the lines of, it's a new record. Speed took 3 minutes to talk about mangoes. But hey, mangoes, they're just incredible. I know I've said this same line like 18 times, but it is more HP regen per gold than a Ring of Health. Come on. And it gives you mana when you need it. And by the way, if you go Arcane Boots and a Null Talisman, which often he does, and you drop those items before popping the mangoes later on into the game, you get bonus value from the mangoes. And a lot. If you drop Mana Boots, I think you get about 30 to 40 extra mana from the mango. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of extra mana. It's a big deal. So essentially, just huge fan of this item. It's so nice. In terms of lane, he's with a Pudge, not a great lane, but he's against Ricky, which is really easy. Treants is also not too bad for Dark Seer because it's a melee hero and can't pressure you too hard, as he'll shell and you'll still see him pull a lot of creep aggro. This is definitely one of those heroes that, you know, even though you have good damage and good armor at level 1, Ion Shell is kind of just a weird ability. It's definitely a suspect ability at best because it's very mana intensive. They nerfed this ability quite a lot at level 1 throughout the ages, and so you'll see him, every time you'll see him play this hero, if the lane is even remotely difficult, he'll pull aggro. So one thing to note about Dark Seer is this hero has an insane amount of kill potential at level 2. Back-aim is one of the best abilities in the game actually at level 2 because it's not only a repositioning spell that costs only 60 mana, it does 100 damage to 2 heroes, right? Assuming you hit 2 heroes. It is a very long cooldown at 60 seconds, but when you use it, it's very effective. So often you'll see Dark Seers get a kill, whether or not it's first blood, doesn't matter, but you'll get a kill early into the lane, and that's what happens. He gets first blood here. So the Pudge hits a banger hook. He makes the right play of shelling the Pudge here, understanding they're going to commit on the Pudge, and then right as Pudge is potentially about to die, gets off the vacuum, which cancels the auto from the Treant and the Ricky, does 100 damage to both of them, and it allows him to get the first blood, and that's absolutely massive. For a hero like Dark Seer that really needs this early gold, you'll see, you know, that's why he's going to spend most of the early lane just really focused on creeps, not too worried about, you know, Ion shelling, harassing the enemy. Just very much focused on playing the lane and getting good CS. Now, the next thing he does is a bit odd, I will admit. He goes for Earn. He does not do this every game. I think he does, yeah, he literally did it only one game. His most common build is Magic Wand and Null Talisman. Typically, it depends on the lane. If it's a Wand spam lane, you buy Wand first. If it's not, you buy Null first, and you go from there, right? This lane, he switched it up a bit. We'll pick up the Wand eventually just because it's the best fighting item in Dota. It's good against Ricky, who casts quite a bit of abilities. Same thing with Treant, definitely some pretty heavy ability spam heroes. But now when you hit level 3, this is when Ion Shell becomes a pretty formidable ability. You can consider is the key word, putting it on your position 4, right? And really looking to essentially dominate the position 5 and look to, well, maybe even pressure out the carry. It really depends. I would say if your position 4 is a good Ion Shell user, you can really just put it on them, look to get that double shell and get a kill, because 100 damage per second is insane. However, it's a pretty small window, right? You have to keep in mind, it's a 24-second duration and a 9-second cooldown. So you have, right, what is that, 15 seconds to really like use the double shell before you have to reapply it, which is not terrible, right? It's not nothing, but you just have to keep in mind it's very mana intensive as well. So if you're gonna bother shelling your teammate, you really need to make sure if you're gonna double shell that you're gonna get value out of it. Like, maybe he'll do it here because this Ricky's kind of far up, but he can kind of blink strike away. So yeah, he's not going to opt for it until Ricky kind of goes in, but yeah, not worth committing. Definitely not worth committing. Can instead just focus on getting good harass with the vacuum and the shell, as unfortunately another hook does miss. Once you have level 5 ion shell, you can get a lot of kills. So I'll quickly go back here and just show you that it really does just completely destroy heroes at this point. So his Pudge ends up hitting a hook, very straightforward play. He'll put the shell on himself. Anytime you're way tankier than the person who's also going in with you, you should put the shell on yourself, because it's more likely you're gonna live for longer and keep that shell going. So gets a nice kill, takes out the treant. Then with the double shell here, he's gonna be able to push out the wave. I think he double shells here for 2 reasons. Number 1, he can dive the tower with a full wave. He'll hit level 6, can make a copy of Ricky if he wants, and then shell that to control 2 shells. And just in general, Ricky is a hero that cannot avoid the shells, right? If he wants to CS the wave, he has to tank the shells. So essentially with this double shell, he'll just make sure he doesn't tank the tower. Actually does. Okay, so he does actually go for the Wall of Replica ion shell. I suppose he's going to use that to farm to some extent. No, he's actually sending it off. Kind of bizarre. He'll bring it back now. Oh, maybe he's going to kill him here. Drops the urn. Ooh, I feel like he messed up a bit. I actually think he messed up a bit. So he goes in here. I think if he didn't tank this Nature's Grasp for so long, this actually might have been fightable. He does pop the urn. Unfortunately, if Lena wasn't here, I think he definitely kills the Ricky, but pretty close, but unfortunately doesn't get the job done. And yeah, I'm definitely a big fan of him going for, I think he picks up the Crimson relatively early. Oh, as he actually dies. Wow. That's brutal. Really nice play from the enemy team. But he does pick up the Vanguard, and I like it because it's going to build into... It allows you to lane and farm jungle infinitely because the creeps don't do any damage to you. So you can see here, he's like, all right, my lane sucks. I'm out. You don't want to have to do this. Keep in mind, like, you really want to try to do well in your lane and then hit level 7 and then just shell 1 creep, and then it will insta-kill the wave, and then you go kill a neutral camp, and you should rinse repeat that best case scenario. Unfortunately, that's not the case, so he'll jungle. And Darkseer is great at jungling. Like, if you have to, if you really can't play your lane, you can jungle. As long as you're at least level 5. You'll be able to jungle no problem. As he does get gone on mid here, he definitely seems dead. Unless, no, he's dead. So here's where things really start to play out, and this is kind of the main decision that I think will separate your Darkseer from 33's Darkseer. And it's not even mechanical gameplay, it's just his decision making here. So you'll notice fights happening mid, right? Pretty intense action. Most people might get lured into this. The Ricky's gonna go back in a moment, Train goes in. Where does he TP? Top. He TP's top. Do you think most people would have TP'd top there? Probably not, right guys? They would have TP'd mid. They would have been like, oh, my team's taking a major fight. What you need to understand about Darkseers, the main impact they're gonna have in the game for your team is essentially pushing in the wave and farming up aura items, right? Create map pressure by taking the tower, right? He's gonna get the top tower with the card here. It's really nice. He's gonna connect the wave to a large camp here, which is really nice. You can shell yourself and then easily kill off the camps. He tries to avoid a gank. Unfortunately, oh, nice hook from the Pudge. Great stuff. Oh, and the wall comes out as well. This is beautiful. Okay, he should have shelled here. I actually don't know why he didn't shell. I will admit, I think he needs to be way faster on the shell here. For whatever reason, he didn't do it. He should put it on Pudge, or actually Mars is the better person to put it on because Mars is way tankier. So definitely a little bit slow on the shell. It would have actually made a big difference. So pretty surprising to see him not shell here, but either way, great play from the Pudge to save him. And yeah, that's another thing you can do with this Vanguard build as well. I mean, yes, he got saved by the Pudge in this instance, but if you go an item build like this, where you can go Vanguard into Mana Boots into Pipe, you can really just also play sort of in a baity way, right? Where you can get gone on, surge a wave, force them to chase you, and often live because of the fact that your hero is just very tanky with the items that you're going to be buying. And yeah, after the Vanguard, I mean, if your game's super free, you can go Mana Boots into Vanguard. The Vanguard just feels great. It really does. And he doesn't go this every single game. He goes a couple different builds, but it's common, right? He bought it in 3 of the games. He did go mech into Greaves in some of the matches, and I think that was largely because of dispels. For instance, if you look at his most recent game, I'll zoom in real quick. If you look at his most recent game, just for a bit of perspective, he was against a Treant and an Ember, right? He has 2 heroes where he can Grieve their disables, and that's massive, right? Super massive. It's also a lot of physical damage on this team in the Morphling and the Legion, so the armor from the Greaves is good. And I wasn't a huge fan of this item, but it got buffed. I think mech is honestly really good right now. I think Mana Boots and mech are somewhat broken items, honestly, and so that's kind of the big selling point of Greaves. Greaves got buffed, and the 2 things that it builds from are pretty OP. So yeah, I think they're in a good place. As he kind of looks to group up here. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit surprised to see him like really group up in this way, as he does get gone on mid. He'll look for the kill, vacuum him back, drop the wall, and yeah, be very lenient with the wall. One thing you can do with Vanguard as well, and we kind of saw this from the 33 Razor video, is you can disassemble it, right? You can disassemble this item into the pipe. And pipe typically is better than Crimson early game because the majority of damage in the early game, most of the time, is magical. Even when you're against something like Ricky and Lina, still, even then, most team comps will actually do primarily magical. And so that's why I like the Vanguard early on. Right, the Vanguard's kind of nice as it allows you to tank creep camps and just general physical damage. The early game, and as nukes start to get maxed out and team fights break out, I generally think the pipe is actually better. Of course, there's, you know, exceptions to this. If the enemy team has Visage, Luna, Medusa for some reason, something like this, right? Maybe a Legion, Sniper mid, and a Drow carry. You know what I mean? The Crimson Rush, in that case, would probably be better, right? So you want to be looking at the enemy damage types and buying your first item in accordance to, right, what they do in terms of what damage they do. I will admit, this is probably the most aggressive I've seen him play, almost to date. Like, yes, he does TP bottom here, so, you know what's really funny about 33? I consistently see this in his games. It's really, really funny. Anytime he knows, because this guy's good, right? This guy, I mean, he's good. He knows better than most people, of course, on a TI, if a fight's gonna be good or not. He has a much better read. So if he has a good read that like what his team is doing is just complete garbage, he just won't do it. So like here, for instance, he surges the punch. To be honest, he actually sends his team into death. That's so funny. I thought he just completely, he kind of baited them. I'm not gonna lie. He baited pretty hard here, actually. All right, that's pretty funny. But yeah, he has no problem just being like, yep, no, this is bad, and just change his mind, right? Even though it's like he surged his Pudge and shelled his Pudge, which definitely insinuates that he wants to fight, he has no problem whatsoever, right? No problem whatsoever just pushing in lanes. We kind of saw that with the mid fight earlier. Just be willing to say, okay, my team's overextending. Obviously, if your team has like tiny mid and a void carry, right, like in this game, or a position 4 o'clock, right? These heroes that can really use the shell, then I can kind of see why he would get active. But I definitely can say I'm surprised that in this game in particular, he's more active than the other ones. The other ones, he was way, and I mean way more farm oriented. One thing I will say that is a big difference this game that perhaps is persuading him to be less farm oriented and more fight oriented is actually the fact that he's against a Clock and a Ricky, 2 heroes that, especially if they combine together, easily kill him. Right, easily kill him. He's very not survivable. Even with Vanguard, he'll just 100% die to that combination of heroes. Even Clock plus Grim or Clock plus Lina can potentially kill him. I think Clock is definitely quite good against Darkseer, at least early on. Not necessarily when Pipe comes out, but early on for sure. And so that's something he has to be aware of. Now, when the game gets hard and the map gets dark, this is when Darkseer actually thrives as a hero. Because even when it has limited information, it can still farm. It can sap the XP from the trees too. Also, by the way, keep in mind, he didn't take his level 10 talent, and he didn't take his ulti at level 12. You want to max out your Surge after the Ion Shell, and then go back for the Vacuum and max that out. So that's the build you're going to go. Don't take your talent until level 14 or 15. Yeah, because they're just not that good. They're not horrible, they're just not that good. So we'll see him look to push him bottom here. His team takes some wacky fight. It is what it is. Sometimes the boys kill themselves. Actually, they get a really nice return chrono. He does TP in. Wow, this is a good combo. Is this enough? He's gonna pop the pipe. I don't know. The void's kind of low, so I'm not sure there's enough follow-up damage here. Let's see how this plays out. So one thing that I really don't like that he doesn't do here is when he TPs in, he should actually shell himself. He should shell himself so that by the time he gets to the fight, he has another shell, right? So he can shell the void or the Pudge or even CM, or even an illusion is fine too. But he could shell something. So I definitely think I would have liked to see him shell earlier. So it would be on probably about a 4 or 5 second cooldown here instead of, well, 10 when he casts it. So definitely don't love that he doesn't have a shell going at all here. Actually, this is actually quite bad, to be honest. But and what wasn't bad was the vac wall. That was a nasty vac wall. Gets off the pipe, buys time on the Pudge, and they just wipe the enemy team completely. And so yeah, that's the nice thing about this Darkseer. What I really love is I think a lot of these aura items are quite good. Have been underrated for a while. Mech in particular. And not that he goes at this game. Well, he does later on, but Mech in particular, I think is very underrated. I think Pipe is in a good spot. We saw that at TI. Definitely something people have come to the consensus of, that Pipe is actually stronger than people believe and makes you disturbingly tanky, considering it puts you up to 55% magic resist from 25 as an item, which is nuts as he connects to mid here. And does he look to go bottom? So his team, okay, so the enemy team's kind of layering bottom. Instead, he'll just farm up a little bit, right? As I said, this hero is incredibly good for farming. Keep in mind, okay, he actually didn't take his level 10 talent at all. He waited until level 15, in which he took Vacuum AoE. I love Vacuum AoE. It's really nice. The other talent giving HP from Ion Shells is very good, I will admit, but I don't think it's as good as the Vacuum AoE. The Vacuum AoE makes it quite massive because it's AoE, right? It's radius. So it makes a huge difference as he'll shove in the mid wave. And right, as I was saying kind of earlier, when the map gets dark, your hero becomes really strong because you can clear waves without showing, right? You don't have to put your body on the line. You can just clear the waves. And it creates a lot of pressure on the map. It creates a big set of pressure. That's why I believe Tundra actually is going to adopt this as a hero they're going to play with, because it's an aura buyer that actually is pretty reliable in lane. I think Dark Seer, if you understand the hero, is pretty hard to beat in lane. I don't think he wins a lot of lanes, but I think he can draw in basically every lane, which is nice. It makes drafting easy if you think that to be the case, and I believe that is where Tundra might go with things. And then I think with the auras here, it just makes the game really easy to play because you have a hero with 4 really useful spells who can just buy auras, right? Which is really nice. It's not like he needs an item to enable his damage. He doesn't at all. Oh, the spear misses. Looks like it maybe won't end up mattering. Maybe? Uh-oh. Maybe it will. Man, this Ricky is so slippery. Oh, God. That hero is so annoying. But he does pop the Crimson, and you can see the Ricky tricks of the trade did nothing to the Void, actually. Also, one thing really interesting about Crimson is the cooldown of the active is only a 35-second cooldown. If you don't know what the active of the item does, for 12 seconds, everyone in an AoE around you, 1200 radius, which is freaking massive, right? So you're basically going to hit everyone around you, no problem. Everyone around you gets an 100% chance, including ranged heroes, have an 100% chance to block 75 damage from each attack. 75, guys. 75, that's insane. It's a ton of block. It really is massive. As we see the Chrono come out here, and then the Pipe Crimson comes out, and you're going to see his teammates' HP. Everyone's kind of chilling, right? Everyone's chilling on a very high HP. The massive vac comes out on a 2. Typically looking for a 3-man vacuum is about what you should be looking for in your pubs. 3-4-man vacuum. And that might sound like a lot, like in these really high aura games, 33 will often be very happy to get a 2-man vacuum if he thinks it's going to result in a kill on at least one of the heroes, right? If he thinks that vac is going to put some hero with no disengage out of position, which is what the ability is particularly good at, countering the heroes with lack of mobility, then you can do that, right? You really can do that. You can just completely punish these heroes, so that's something to keep in mind. So he's going to go back for the mech here, and this is what I love this play, right? Even if you want to fight with your team, let's say you think they're roaching, you just casually put a shell in the bot wave, and I just want to show you guys like what the effect of this shell is going to be. Right, so it's going to push in this wave. It lasts quite long, 30 seconds. Oh, unfortunately, it dies. No, and you really want to try to put it in the creep that won't tank the wave. But you can see, even though it is going to end up dying here, it's going to completely shove this in. Now, optimally, it gets you like 3 of the CS, which would be really nice and really help your farming, but it puts a lot of pressure on the map. Right, this bottom side is now going to stack up a little bit, and this tower is going to take quite a bit of damage from this cart, maybe even die here if the wave can get here on time. No, okay. But you can see it just puts quite a lot of pressure on the map. Gets the wave in, and hopefully just gets you towards your next item, which unfortunately didn't perfectly play out there, but you get the gist. Just try not to put it on the creep in front, put it in a creep in the back. Also, cool little trick I just learned from 33 here. In order to maximize mana when you buy Greaves, you can lock your mana boots, and then pop your mana boots for mana, right, which we'll see here. And then you can disassemble them for Greaves, and then pop them again, and you'll actually get the mana from both. So really nice way to refill your mana pool, because Darkseer has a lot of mana problems. This hero is very mana intensive, and typically doesn't buy a mana regen item until later on, right, outside of mana boots, which isn't even mana regen, but you get the point. And we're going to sort of see 33 push down the wave here, even though his team is literally chasing them top. And by the way, I recommend once you have your aura items, like always show up to the fight. So I will say, like, yes, what he's doing here I think is correct, because he trusts that the Void won't overextend to the point where he'll die. So you can kind of have that faith in the Void, but in pubs, once you have your aura item, like, yeah, you can just start fighting. What I recommend is you shell one wave, right? Clear a wave, let that shell kill the next wave, maybe take a jungle camp on the way to your team, but connect with your team, right? Definitely group up with your team. Oh, the Void goes for the Chrono. Uh-oh. Great overgrowth to counter it out. That's only the Aegis, but he's got wall up in a second, so you'll see him kite out here. Unfortunately, it looks like the Void is dead to the smoke screen. Even using the wall to try to kite out, but I would expect him to run top here and try to shell the top wave. No, okay. He's going to go get some mana. All right, so he gets some mana. gets the Cloak of Flames. This item's pretty nuts on Ricky, actually. I mean, on Darkseer. And he picks up... I love that he does it. It's so weird, but he buys a 31-minute Wraith Band, just replaces his item, buys a Wraith Band. And the reason why I don't really get it here, I don't get it at all, is like, usually I'd understand it, because the Wraith Band at minute 25 is insane. It gives you 5 armor, because of the Agi. Actually, 5.5 armor, about 5.5 armor, which is insane for 500 gold. 5.5 armor for 500 gold is really good for one slot. It also gives you 10 Agi, 12 attack speed, which is 22 attack speed, and 4 strength and 4 end. So yes, this item, I love the concept of buying bracers, Wraith Bands, Knolls. Wraith Band tends to be the best in particular if you are going to do this strategy because of the armor. But he already has so much armor, which is why I really don't get it, and it seems very stupid to me. I usually agree with most of the things he does, but I don't know. This one I just don't get. Like, I love Wraith Bands at 25 minutes, and I love this concept, but it just doesn't seem right here. And so go for the back, kind of just forcing the Lina BKB, putting her out of position. And they're going to chase. Oh, that's a free arena. Crit TPing it a little bit too deep as well, so he's just going to go down. It's absolute disaster in the jungle. And yeah, now the gameplay is very simple. You're going to shell as many people as you can. Just make sure you get those shells out pretty constantly. I think a lot of bad Darkseer players forget. Even pro players forget. I forget. And I'm the greatest player in the North American region, so if I forget. But the point is you want to cast your aura items as much as you can. So you get out your shells, get out your auras, Sprite pops the Greaves, heals up the Void a little bit here, gets that passive regen going as well, pops the Crimson, right? Just kind of gets everything off. From there, you're going to typically look to make a copy of the carry, and you don't necessarily even have to vac on the wall. A lot of people think you have to. Sometimes you can just wall the carry, you know what I mean? Just get a copy. It's not that good this game. The Ricky copy is actually quite garbage, as maybe he's going to go for a vac at the last second. Because vac is technically a stun. It's a very short stun, but it is technically a stun. You cannot, as far as I'm concerned, you cannot BKB during the vac. And by the way, he's going to pick up his Ags. If you don't know what Ricky Ags does, Darkseer Ags, basically you run around, and then when you auto attack someone, it stuns them for 2.25 seconds, does 450 damage, which is quite a lot on a 9-second cooldown, which is very short. It creates an illusion of that hero for 6 seconds, which does quite a lot of damage. So it used to be the Darkseer Shard. This hero was way better back in the day. I think the Shard was worse. It was the same thing. It was this punch, but it was worse. They made it the Ags and made it a little bit better. So it is very powerful if you can punch people. In particular, what's nice about it is it just gives Darkseer a stun, and then usually you'll see a blink afterwards. You'll see the Ags come out or a blink come out, and then you'll see the following other item, because they work really well together. Because yeah, it just makes Darkseer be able to blink stun, which this hero used to never be able to do. It's quite nice. And here we see a fight break out mid. The punch is going down, tries to Greaves him up to save him. Unfortunately, can't get the job done. Here he could look for a surge. Okay, he's gonna surge himself and look for a vacuum. Gets it onto 2. Good enough to put the clock out of position. Probably will result in the clock kill. Maybe. Gravestroke gets out. Gonna have to be a little careful. Uh-oh. Look at this pipe, though. This is what I'm saying. I don't know if he's gonna die here or not. I really don't. But, like, that Lina Laguna Blade did no damage. Because, especially with the cloak, he's gonna have, like, what, 60%? Okay, 43%, but he's gotta be affected by... Okay, he's affected by E-Blade. Let's let this run off. Okay, so now that he's not affected by E-Blade, 59% magic resist? And with the Greaves kicking in soon, so... The Greaves will kick in when he's below 25%, which should be in a moment from now. It's quite low. Okay, they should have kicked in by now. I don't know why it's not showing, but when you're below 25% HP, you get 18.5 HP regen and 10 armor. So yeah, it does go up here, so you can see the armor kick in, and like, it's just nuts how tanky you are, right? Just eats the Lina damage. Eats it! Eats the E-Blade combo from the Grim, eats the Lina ulti and the Lina stuns and the autos, just eats everything. This combination of items just covers all your bases and just makes you invincible. And I'm not even just saying that. Like, look, I mean, he literally got gone on hard. Just doesn't die. Completely walks it off. This looks like a vacuum. Probably could have surged for the vacuum on Lina just to be safe. And so vac off the clock to finish him. And yeah, that's going to be about the end of this game and the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you're inspired to play Darkseer. I definitely think this is a hero I'll be spamming quite a lot. It's a little bit weird, and typically I'd recommend picking it. If you don't know when to draft it, I would just draft it second phase. Anytime I have a melee support in lane, it's better. Actually, you know what? I say that, but I laned with a Mirana recently and it felt great. Because you don't want to go for the range creep as Darkseer at level 1. So like Mirana could arrow the creep for me, and then she could like drag wave if I needed her to. I don't know, it's just good. I think that combo's pretty good, the Darkseer Mirana. It's actually quite nice. The lane's good, and I think the game plays out pretty well too. Alright, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and I'm out. Peace.
And that's all. But remember, before you leave, come on, before you tune out, subscribe to the Game Leap website, where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace.